How you doing?
Yeah, how are you doing? You've had a clean shave since your film.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of feedback on how I looked in that production, and apparently the quarantine look wasn't working as well as I thought.
Oh, I
Really?
see. Yeah, I'm going for a full Tormund from Game of Thrones. That's my look.
If I could do that, I would, but there's no chance. So
Yeah, it gets a bit messy in the middle of that period, doesn't it? So how are
I
you
like
guys
your
doing?
setup. It looks very
Oh yeah,
legitimate.
well, the rest of the room, there's no door, there's no carpets, it's just concrete because we're doing work on the house, you see. So it's a real
see.
mess at the moment. So yeah, thanks for coming on board. Thanks for coming on the podcast. If you can both introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Sure. So my name is Robert Bazzocchi. I was the writer and director of the short film Alone Together.
My name's Liam Gentile, and I was the sound guy for the film.
You always say like that's just like a small role, but it was really important. I think it was very important, and you could both probably attest to that because without sound, you don't have half of what you're trying to achieve. And I'd like to come to Liam first, if that's okay.
Oh wow!
I see there's a little nod to Alien at the end with the sound of the credits.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
unintentional.
Well, if you look at how the text comes out, I think it's Alien or Alien 3, either the Fincher or the Ridley Scott one.
Oh,
They use a very, very similar sound. So yeah, even if you didn't do that on purpose, it's a really nice little feature. So
do you mean the text of the sound of the text scrolling across? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
it's possible that it is almost the same sound because for a lot of films they use similar sound banks.
Yeah,
I did
absolutely.
tweak the sound, but it's possible that it's been used in many films. So
yeah, that sounds about right. So Robert, how did you come to write this film? What gave you inspiration? And yeah, just tell me a little bit about it, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess it was interesting. I had a friend recommend this movie. It's called Searching. It's a 2018 film. I don't know if you've seen it, by Anish Chajanti. I think I'm saying his name right, but it was a phenomenal movie. It was like it was entirely shot through the computer screen or through like a phone screen. It was never like a real camera per se. And I thought this was like such an interesting way to shoot something, especially in quarantine. So when I had a friend reach out to me about submitting to a certain festival, and it had to be within 3 minutes and shot at home. And I was like, hey, well, this is a cool opportunity to maybe try to create something within this medium of just like screen recording on my laptop screen.
Yeah.
And then I thought I didn't really have the idea of what it was going to be. So probably like was workshopped over a week and a half, writing and modifying things until I got to something that I was happy with.
Yeah. So how many kind of, was it something you had an outline for, or very basic treatment, or did you kind of, let's see what I can shoot and see what I can get out of it? Because it's extremely, I've got to say, I'm not going to say even though, but because you've recorded on the screen, it's really well polished, I think because it is screen recorded and it's really sharp, obviously, it almost requires the music and the sound and everything just to be as sharp, if you know what I mean, in focus in your mind. And I think you achieved that really well.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, that was definitely why I had to bring someone who knew what he was doing, aka Liam, to do that extra element. I think it's definitely crucial for it to be just as sharp as the visuals, as you're saying, because you're so up close. And there is no dialogue. So any sound that is featured in the film is going to be something that's going to be all part of the story. So I wanted that to be done well. But in terms of the writing aspect, I guess I did actually write out a full script for it. And it was kind of just inspired about like, how am I feeling right now? What is something that I can actually say that is interesting? What is a story that I can talk about? And obviously everyone's feeling the sense of loneliness, right? Like that's just such a common theme, especially in this time, also beyond it. But I was just thinking about, if I am using this medium to shoot through my laptop, well, there's also such power in digital media for kind of being an outlet for people who are lonely or depressed or looking for someone to speak to. Like, thank God for social media in this time to just be able to talk to our friends and family.
Absolutely.
So I kind of started on that tangent. And then I thought, you know, there's also like a darker element of sometimes when you're speaking to people online, you're just, it's out of desperation almost, and you don't really know who you're talking to at times. And sometimes that kind of takes the loneliness takes over, and it doesn't even matter. You're just excited that someone cares about what you have to say and is willing to talk to you. And it kind of just ignited the whole thing.
I think that's you touched upon something that people that are younger than, I think you guys are a little bit younger than I am, probably way younger than I am. But it's just imagine teenagers like say 14, 15 or younger that are connected so much because they kind of almost value online presence more than anything else. There is going to be a huge number like that. And that's why I think this works so well, because they're going to be doing those kind of searches. You know, why am I alone? Why am I, why am I so different to other people or something like that? So I think you touched upon something that so many people can connect with. And that's why I liked it so much. We had a little screening between myself and Chris. There's only two founders, and Nadia, she's a new content creator based out of North Carolina. So we've kind of gone a little bit international with our group of our team at the moment. So there's only 3 of us doing this, and we've received just under 100 films now. So, and we started 7 weeks ago.
Wow.
And I'd already seen the film when Nadia was watching it. So I was looking in the corner of my eye when she was watching it. And as soon as that door appeared, because this episode will air after we kind of showcase your film as well, when the doorway appears towards the end, she absolutely shit herself.
Really?
No
she's
way.
like, no, I don't want to go. Don't go through the door. Don't go through the door. It's hilarious. And it was,
awesome.
but you kind of reconnect with the character with the use of music towards the end, and you could have gone down a Paranormal Activity route, and that's definitely not a bad thing, because look how well executed that is from such a simple idea and such a small budget. So I think the way you really mask that really well. Is that something you shot quite a few times, like the kind of, because you're hiding the doorway, the empty, and then you turn and you just see it. So did you shoot that quite a bit, or was it quite a quick thing to achieve?
So that bit was also like the hardest to come up with writing wise. There was a lot of figuring out how that FaceTime call was going to play out, and like if there was going to be someone there, if there was going to be a blank screen or no screen, whatever it was. Specifically, like that moment, it's pretty much what you said. I probably shot it 3, maybe 4 takes, and it was just making sure that, you know, there's a moment of realization and seeing the door open behind me, but also being subtle enough that they won't see it until I reveal it.
Yeah.
So, you know, just watching it back and being like, okay, can I see the dark outlines of the door? And does it feel like a genuine reaction? Because first and foremost, I'm an actor, so I just want to make sure that looks realistic, and I'm proud of that. But yeah, it was a lot of hoping for the best in editing and trying to piece together the best points. So
yeah, I think we're not going to give anything away, because we've got like kind of online awards and such like that. I think because of your acting, we've got some really nice selections of acting, so it'll be up there when we kind of come to collate our films. That's what we're doing this week. We're kind of processing all the films between the 3 of us, cataloging everything, and then next weekend, a week on Sunday, we're going to announce how we're going to do the awards and that kind of thing. So I think your performance was, I know it's such a small film, and that's why it works so well, because you're on one side for pretty much the entire thing until the call switches. That's why your brain's like, oh, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal. And then when it switches and then you see the door, that's why it works so well. So yeah, I think for what you've created, such a simple but really well executed idea.
thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And I think Liam definitely needs some, obviously, you know, you're both fantastic at what you've done with this film, but Liam, with the choice of sound and the can you tell me about your process? How was your kind of back and forth between the 2 of you, like editing the sound? Did you have the cut of the film when you did the music and the sound?
Yeah, we actually worked very closely, probably more closely than would be typical. Because Robert knew what he wanted, which is good from the director. You know, it's easier for me as well. So sometimes we'd be on a Zoom call together, and I would actually be doing the music, and he would be watching, and then he'd have immediate feedback for me.
That's quite nice. It's quite a lot of people would be, oh, just send me the material, then I'll edit it, and then back and forth. But that's quite, you know, if you're working on a big feature film, your director and editor and sound guy might be in the same, possibly might be in the same room. But for this, I really like that approach, and it looks like have you kind of worked together before?
Yeah.
Yes.
So fortunately, funny enough, Liam and I have actually been going to school together since junior kindergarten. We were in the same class, so we've been lifelong friends. But he started getting to music. I guess you can talk about that yourself. The last few years, and doing that more professionally. And we had him actually come on for the first actor short film that I directed, which was we technically shot it in 2016, 2017, but we released it this year, and he did a lot of the scoring and Foley for that. And after working with him on that project, I knew that I kind of just wanted to bring him on for something else, because he is very open to collaboration, but he's also very capable, and he knows exactly how to execute an idea. Like, I sometimes can't explain things very well, but like, it's just like he understands it.
Yeah,
It's
so important. And having that working relationship with when I do work outside of this and outside, when we actually can go outside, I've got like 3 or 4 people that I don't necessarily rely on, but I know the work ethic, and you have that kind of synergy with them. I think that's super important in filmmaking, because there's only so much you can do on your own, and it'll take you 3 or 4 times longer and maybe not even get to the same level. So I think props to both of you for working so well together.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Liam.
Oh, thank you, Robert.
So Liam, how did you start getting into kind of scoring and writing your own music and scoring films, that kind of thing?
Well, I don't have much of a musical background, to be honest. I started playing guitar in high school, and it was just kind of a hobby of mine, but I never saw myself going into the music industry or the film industry as a career. And I went to university after high school, studied something completely unrelated. And at some point in university, I realized that music was really important to me, and that I should take it more seriously.
So is it when you started doing scoring, was it music first and then sound design? Did you have influences that kind of suggested, oh, you should do this, you could focus yourself this way?
Well, before I did do a music program, more of an audio engineering program. So before I did that, when I was in university, I was very much only interested in being an artist, making pop music, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when I went to a music school, I got exposed to a lot of different facets of the music industry and the film industry. And so it kind of spread me out to a lot of different things. And I realized that I wasn't just interested in making music, I was interested in composing for film, for sound design, a lot of different things. It's been a good thing for me, but also it's a bit tricky because I have my hands in a lot of different places now.
Yeah, it's time consuming, isn't it?
Yeah. And I feel like, the vast majority of people that are working professionals, they have to specialize at some point. So I'm still in a place where I feel like I'm in too many things at the moment, but
I know, because it's very easy to spread yourself thin if you try and, especially in film production and music, because you want to do everything. You want to, you want to learn, you want to soak up as much information as possible. I think after a certain point, you'll gravitate towards something, but sound design and music for this. So everything's original sound, and obviously you sampled stuff and all of that. Is the music original as well?
Yes, all the music's original.
Wow, that's really quite impressive, and that's something we'll note in the description when we post the film as well. It's because I know it's extremely difficult, because we've got people from 9 years old till 90 that have made a film for us, and it's obviously difficult, and they're not necessarily specialized in music or filmmaking generally, but to come up with something so strong and visually so, I really, really like it, because you've kept it simple. You've kept the boundaries, the kind of, when you watch a film and the geography of the room, where the characters are in relationship with the editing and everything. I think having something so simple and you gravitated towards Robert's character, that's why when you switched and the call happened, it's so effective. And yeah, I really enjoy it every time I see it now.
Wow. I love that. It's always super nice to hear. I actually, just because you were commenting on the number of films and the different, you know, demographics of filmmakers and stuff, just briefly, if you wouldn't mind maybe explaining what inspired you to kind of start this this festival in the first place. How it came about.
I work as a video producer outside of work for a university in Chester, and I shoot my own freelance stuff as well, mostly kind of corporate stuff. And most of the corporate stuff no one ever sees because it's on a website hidden behind something, you know. But the colleague I was working with, Chris, that's the other founder, we were shooting a video about these tenement blocks, and when we were walking back to the car, we were just like, oh, we should maybe shoot some short films together and send them to each other, and, you know, have a bit of friendly banter and that kind of thing. And then he suggested, oh, we should open it up wider. And then I thought, oh, why don't we create some sort of online festival? That'd be cool. And as soon as I had that original idea, I sat down at the office and, right, I need to get Twitter, I need to get Instagram, I need to get a domain name, I need to get it all, because someone else is going to have the same idea. And there are a few other similar ideas, and I like what the ISFF does in Canada for supporting Canadian actors. I think that's great. And there's a couple in the UK. But we wanted to make it kind of more of a community feel and give people a real voice. I know that sounds a bit, you know, I don't know how to describe it without swearing. I don't. I'm gonna say it. I don't want it to sound too wanky. Do you know what I mean? Oh, we're gonna build a community, that kind of thing.
Of course.
But there's no other way I can explain it. But we wanted to have people genuinely feel as though we're watching their films and we're listening, because it's really easy for us to. We could have just gone, oh yeah, we'll take your films, we'll do loads of cool marketing, and then that's it. It will, you know, post some awards online. And we wanted to build something bigger from this. That's why, you know, we've started this podcast as well. And now we've interviewed 25 or 85 filmmakers, and we're kind of releasing those week by week. We might get ramp it up with 2 a week. But it's really fun, and speaking to you guys and learning how other people make their films as well, and technique, because technique's different to each person. And, you know, we've had people talking about shooting on their iPads and doing stop animation, doing screen recordings, that kind of thing. And it helps inform other filmmakers. That's what I've got the most out of this, is process and technique. You don't need to have a huge, complicated setup and a fancy camera to shoot something really good. You just need the work ethic and possibly a team of people, like one or two, or even just someone else that'll hold the camera if you want to be in it. And that's what we wanted to inform people of. And yeah, we met some interesting people along the way. We met a musician called Smudgy yesterday from Canada, and she's based in Toronto, and she's super talented. And we ended up talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer for half an hour. So yeah, it's wonderful to meet people like you guys. And we've got a very special award. We've got a few things like acting. We're not going to branch it off too much, because we don't have, say, 800 films like the ISFF. We're going to do very particular categories like animation and comedy, acting, best film, or founders films that we like in particular. And we've got a very special award for cinematography. And the reason being, I drunkenly on Sunday just gone, I was at 2:00 in the morning. I had the Monday off. I sent him a music video director a message, and he got back to me within about 10 minutes. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I said, do you fancy giving the award out for best cinematography? And he said, yeah, do you fancy talking on a Skype call? I said, yeah, great. Not now, because I'm really drunk. I said, why don't we speak tomorrow? He said, great. I'm based in LA. That's my time zone. Can you call me? I said, yeah, I'll call you 8:00. I looked at the messages the next day. I don't remember writing them.
Oh,
no. As long as I spell everything right, do I sound like a fool or not? No, I don't. Great. So I ended up speaking to this music video director and cinematographer called Vance Burberry, and he has done everyone. He did Sweet Child of Mine for Guns N' Roses, Alice Cooper, all sorts of huge stars. Wow. Limp Bizkit, Britney Spears, Celine Dion. He's shot everyone, and he just worked with Garth Brooks as well on an underwater music video. So he's telling me about being directed by Garth Brooks Underwater, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. So he's actually choosing the best cinematography award, which is really cool. And that's just pure luck. And it's just from, sorry, I'm just a little bit out of energy. I've done so much work today. It's crazy. It's, and that's no excuse.
No, yeah, it's end of day for you, so understood.
Oh yeah, it will be. It will be in a couple of hours once I upload some more work. It's being confined at home and being self-isolated. It's given me a more focus, I find. How about you guys?
Yeah, I guess for me specifically, excuse me. So I'm actually living with my grandmother right now, and the rest of my family is living together just a little while away. So because I'm not around, my immediate family, I find like I don't have as many distractions. And so I'm finding I'm spending most of my time inside just working on things. So even though I'd love to be seeing my family, I find the same thing. It's allowed me to focus and channel in on things that I want to prioritize. And thankfully I've found these outlets that I'm excited about and interested in. And it's kind of just been a good opportunity for me to like double down and just do some work that I feel like is valuable to me. So I've been pretty lucky that I've been able to keep busy. And that way, it's at least making this whole quarantine a little bit more productive. But yeah, so I'm lucky.
Yeah. How about you, Liam? How have you found isolation?
I'm trying my best to keep busy, but personally, I work much better with a regular routine, and that's kind of taken away right now. So I have projects going and I'm keeping busy, but it is hard to have a good productive day every day.
Yeah, I definitely I'd totally agree with that, because it's very peak. There's a lot of peaks and troughs, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Because you can have a day where you're super productive. Like today for me, it's been non-stop for the other work I'm doing, and then I've got a load of festival stuff to do tonight. So it's great. And then tomorrow morning, I might not have anything to do for a few hours, and then I'll have this huge trough where I just feel as I need to get out of the house. I need to go somewhere, do something, So I'm totally there, mate, and it can be extremely difficult, even though you're at home. It's a mindset, because once you're taken out of routine, I equate it to when people retire. So when people retire after 30, 40 years of work, when they've got that routine completely taken away, you kind of start overthinking certain things in your life, and you kind of become really, some people fall apart. And like my dad, when he retired from work, he was working at a car factory for many years. He was ill for 5-6 years after he retired, purely because of the routine. And the mental capacity is like, oh, you've got all this time now, all this thinking time you never had before. And that's why after the first few weeks of isolation, I kind of really focused my work on the festival, and it definitely helped.
Yeah, that's really smart. And I think I hear the retirement thing is very, very real. And they suggest that couples shouldn't, excuse me, retire at the same time for that exact reason. They say that, it's really difficult to cope with, and you should have one who's maybe a little bit more there for like the stability and comfort and reassurance. Because if you're going through that together, it's almost like neither of you know what to do with your time. It becomes very, very difficult. So glad to hear you were able to focus that energy and come up with something that's great too.
Absolutely. And this week I've given up caffeine, so it's been a bit crazy.
Wow. I haven't gotten to that level of quarantine.
I'm a huge caffeine fan, and just I got a little Lavazza machine. I love. I'm not a complete coffee snob, but I like my particular coffees. You know what I mean? It's and giving that up. I've had those headaches yesterday. It was crazy. So I've finally gone past that cold turkey stage now.
Wow, good for you.
I just felt as though it was some sort of crutch or something. I was almost too reliant on it, and thank God it's my only kind of coping mechanism, that and a few vodkas here and there, because I can only imagine what some people have gone on a real spiral down. So I wanted to kind of ask you guys, what kind of films are you into? What kind of influences have been on your kind of relatively early careers in sound and filmmaking?
Do you want to start, Robert?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have. I feel like I'm like I said earlier, I'm first and foremost like an actor, and I've only recently started making films, maybe the last like 2 years, and I really enjoy writing as well. So cinematography isn't necessarily my forte, which is why I lucked out by shooting everything through the screen. um, but yeah, I always found like, and this applies to both filmmaking, like writing as well as acting, but the most incredible performances and things that I find very, very interesting are things I don't know what's about to happen next. They always say the most uh, interesting actors are the ones where you're watching and at every second you have no idea what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that also goes for filmmaking as well. So I love those within thrillers, mystery, anything on the front where I'm trying to figure things out, I'm trying to decode something. I love that personally. So that's also kind of what inspired a little bit of this film, where it's like I kind of want everything to be pieced in a certain way to almost allow someone to be like, okay, well, what is this person? Who is this person? Why is this happening? Those kind of ideas that will lead to something that might pay off later on. So I love those little like Easter eggs as well and things. But on the opposite side, I love a good rom-com from time to time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just before we just quickly come to you, Liam, I just did a little review on my Instagram thing. I've just started doing this stupid thing every day, and I did a little review for Love Is Blind. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes, I
The
did.
reality show.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cheesy. I honestly don't go into those things very often because I just see it as a huge waste of time. But something hooks me in.
Okay, I totally agree. So I watched the first episode because I went home one weekend. This was like pre-quarantine, and the family was watching, and I was like, "This looks so dumb. People are going to be talking through a wall for like 8 episodes." But they like just go home and watch it, and then I realized that that was only the first 1 or 2 episodes, and then they move on to do other things. I got so hooked. I'm like, "This is crazy."
Yeah,
And some characters, I'm telling you, they absolutely killed me. Like Jess's character and
yeah.
that Jess Mark relationship. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my
What was
God,
your review? What was your synopsis of the
uh, I was just saying I don't really normally go into one of these things, but I keep it super simple, and recommend it whether I like it or not. And I just kind of described it. I didn't want to ruin it for anyone, so I didn't really gonna go into it too much. But sometimes reality shows, not sometimes, most of the time, they're overshot and over edited. And I felt this wasn't, and that's what appealed to me. It wasn't just super flashy Kardashian kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's all over the place. And there was just, you could tell it's overshoot it. This is actually a well produced reality show.
such a producer
Yeah.
perspective?
I feel
I
like the
know, I'm sorry.
standards are getting higher. I feel like in general the trajectory is upwards for the quality of television and film, especially
I absolutely agree
cinematography.
with that. I totally agree with that. You're absolutely right. Cinematography, especially
Yeah.
online with Netflix, like Netflix, they have a list of cameras that can be used or a list of
Mm.
standards they have, and I think Amazon probably have the same. That's such a good point, Liam, because TV wasn't really well shot, let's say 20 years ago, unless you watch something like The X-Files where it's lit and it looks beautiful and it's great because it looked great in film. And if you watch a 16:9, the widescreen version of The X-Files now, it's even better. And so many shows were crap to look at.
And listening to as well, the sound was so bad.
Absolutely. I think the standards of home cinema helped that quite a lot, and people weren't accepting rubbish anymore. And
Mhm.
yeah, you make such a good point. When you look at shows on Netflix now, every show looks great.
Mhm.
I,
Yeah, even shows some dramas that I don't necessarily love the acting or the story, it's still beautiful to look at. Yeah.
absolutely. If you watch, you might have watched it, but the big show that was produced mostly here, The Crown, it looks
Mm.
unbelievable. There's a thing in the UK, obviously costume dramas is a huge thing in the UK,
Yeah.
but this looks way better than all of them. And there's something about costume dramas pre Downton Abbey that kind of looks like TV and not film. And now TV shows look like film. Because when you imagine watching The Witcher 20 years ago. Your head would blow off. John, your head would explode with, what am I looking at? This is a movie.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. So it's, the standards, and I think the standards of filmmaking generally have kind of amped up, but there's still wiggle room. There's still room for another Blair Witch or something down the road, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find HBO does that like so well. I feel like the cinematography and the writing is parallel to almost, the feature film quality, but in a series. And I find most of the series too on HBO are very like, character driven rather than plot driven. And I find that's what hooks me so much. Maybe that's also maybe like the actor in me, because I find the role so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think HBO does it so well.
They set the gold standard. They really did. Like, if you look at The Wire's acting is unreal, but it was shot in 4:3. It was actually shot in 4:3 in a 16:9 world. And that's a creative choice that, can't remember the producer's name, but that they made for the show. And the fact that HBO said, yeah, let's go with that, because it looked more like NYPD Blue that way, and it's, yeah, HBO, they're the gold standard, and they always will be. They should, press, look at producers writing, or the writers of like Game of Thrones at the end though, and not have a terrible final season.
Yeah.
I've only heard
personal
of
opinion. It felt it wasn't quite as bad as being shafted by the producers of Lost, but it felt pretty bad. I was just that's just a gripe I'll have for years with
Me too.
What's he called? The writer of the glasses, the main writer for, I can't remember his name. He worked on massive shows like Leftovers and that kind of thing as well. And he's worked on The Watchmen, the new Watchmen show. But yeah, shows can get ruined. And if they've had 7 years, was it 8 years, 8 seasons, something like that? You've got time to develop characters fully and work out the end. Because it felt as though Daenerys' character was like, she went crazy towards the end really quickly. I'm like, where was this? It's in her blood, the craziness with her family, but they could have developed that over years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a rant.
I did not believe that John would stab her. I did not
know.
believe that.
Anyone watching, you should have seen it by now. That's not a spoiler.
That's me. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you guys coming on. We've only just got a few more minutes because we've only got the basic Zoom package, sadly, or the free one. So I would one little last question. I'll tell you a couple of updates as well. Is I really want to see a sequel to this. I know it's probably something you've not seen, but going through the door, how is that going to work? Because I know it's a maybe an esoteric thing where you're not alone. You come with us. How would that be visualized? I think that'd be really interesting to go through the door, and I'd be really fascinated by that. And there's a few films we've talked together with filmmakers about, and I'm trying to push them to make a sequel.
That's really interesting. I mean, that's the best part though, right? Like I think a lot of people have been asking that, what happens once he goes to the door? What is on the other side of the door? Who is Enola? Like all these questions that are open-ended, but like left so intentionally. And, like, I don't even know if I have an answer. Right.
Yeah. And
it's a phenomenal thing to think about. Like if you could make a sequel to this, what would it be? But the whole piece is like very much, a metaphor. Right. And it's
absolutely.
It's difficult to think of what that would be, but I love that even just somebody pondering the idea of, okay, well, now what happens? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, is he in the computer now? Is he in the right reality? Like what's happening? Like just a lot of different questions that I had to ask myself while writing it just to make sense of it. And I even told Liam when I pitched it to him, like, dude, let me know if this doesn't make any sense. Like, please tell me, like I have this idea and I feel like it feels right and it works, but if it doesn't read, then let me know. And unfortunately he was like, no, it's good. And we tweaked a few things, but other than that, like I kind of like that the open ending is there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've got a question about your acting. I'm not questioning your acting. I've got
Why did you do this? It was so bad.
It is when you're when you're staring at the screen throughout the film, this is coming from a non-actor point of view. Are you focusing on yourself and your performance when you're looking at your screen? Because obviously you can see yourself in the screen, or are you looking off and kind of pondering the idea and what's happening?
So when I was shooting it, like, yeah, myself was, I was on the screen on the left side, but I was never actually watching myself, which is good and bad. Like, obviously I was trying to focus on the text. And the other thing too, is it's all happening in real time. Like the way I wrote it out, like this program is, it actually does happen in these set intervals. So everything's like planned, and, if I took any time to glance over, I couldn't use that clip. And I needed to just be real in the moment to try to make the transitions as genuine as possible. But then there's the bad side of, I wasn't monitoring my performance, and there was nobody here monitoring my performance. So that was the editing phase. And that's why I took like 4 or 5 different takes, because it's like, okay, I need to find the best moment from this one thing and put them together. So there was things I wasn't, super happy with, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to put together the best pieces I can and try to just make the best thing I can with it.
Oh, that's super. That's a great place to leave it. And we're really happy to have you on the podcast, and we're exceptionally happy to have you in the festival, because everyone that's seen it, myself, Nadia, and a few other people, they absolutely loved it, and because it's executed extremely well. And like you said earlier, story is paramount. It doesn't matter how you make the film. I think you guys did a cracking job with the film.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate you having us on and watching the film, and thank you for putting together this whole thing for community building that you think is cheesy or wanky or whatever.
It's just the way. It's just the way. It's just the way.
That's awesome.
When you kind of look at what you're saying, like, oh my God, I sound like such an idiot when you say these things. But so is there anywhere online where people can find you guys?
For me, it's just my name, at Robert Bazzocchi. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all the same thing. The hardest thing is just spelling my last name. So as long as that's out somewhere, it's just that. Yeah.
I'll just call you Robert B. That's what I'll call you.
Yeah, that works as well. Robert B is fine.
So how about you, Liam?
I'm pretty embarrassed to say I don't have anything.
No, you know what? You probably have a healthier existence by not.
100%.
I do, but now that I'm starting to do more things like this, I realize that at some point I will have to jump back in and at least create some kind of professional social media or website, at least.
Just with like samples of your music, your films, it's definitely achievable. You've probably got a bank of content, and taking photographs of your gear, that kind of thing. You can start off small, but don't make it a routine you don't like doing. That's my biggest tip. You got to enjoy the process. Social media, you've got to enjoy it.
Yeah,
I switch off most news online, and Facebook, it's just somewhere we post content now. If you ever need any recommendations, or we can help you out with any of that, we're happy to kind of lend an ear or recommend things, and then share some content your way as well.
Thank you. Could I share my email?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's liam.gentile, my name, 1@gmail.com.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Liam. Thank you, Robert. And you've both been great guests on our show.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to have a beer in a minute.
Nice. Enjoy your beer.
All right. See you soon.
Much deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye-bye. Bye.